So if there's one thing sure as shooting is that a CBDC, a central bank digital currency, is coming. They are working on this. Central banks around the world have either already implemented this or tried to. They are setting up test beds. This is not a conspiracy theory anymore. This is not in the realm of, crazy town. This is actually things that are happening, and even our own central bank is talking about testing this and bringing something out. They are launching Fed Now. And that is basically what has been said, the plumbing for a future CBDC, a central bank digital currency. Let's go over real quick. This is going to be a really interesting video. We're going to do a number of things. You're going to really want to stay tuned until the end because we're going to talk about some cool stuff about what's coming. The reality is, why did this whole thing about a CBDC get started? This started after the whole introduction of Bitcoin. Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies got to a market cap of around $700 billion. They were well on their way in 2017 to $1 trillion market cap. And at that point, the banks were like, whoa, what is going on here? At first, this was just some kid thing, some internet nerd stuff. And now it's taking $700 billion of money outside of the system and putting it into that market cap. A system that we don't control, that we don't have authority over. The alarm bells were sounded, and you had that one guy who came out and says, we will tame Bitcoin. And that's what they've done. And the idea process of these people who didn't understand what cryptocurrencies were, they were like, okay, if they want crypto, we'll give them crypto. And so they came out with this idea of a central bank digital currency. Not understanding that the whole draw of crypto was that it was, and Bitcoin basically, was that it was decentralized. It could not be controlled by the bank. It was something that existed outside of the system. So do you understand the draw here? Do you see the difference? People are like, I know there's people in my audience who think Bitcoin is crazy. It's tulip bulbs. Guys, Bitcoin, in my opinion, this is why Bitcoin is related to gold. It takes time, money, and energy to create Bitcoin, just like it takes time, money, and energy to pull gold out of the ground. You just don't create it, okay? And people are like, well, there's thousands of different types of Bitcoins. There's all kinds of cryptocurrencies. No. There's only one gold. There's all kinds of metals. You have zinc, you have palladium, you have copper, you have brass, you have all these different types of metals that exist, but there's only one gold. There's only one Bitcoin. Completely decentralized. There's no office that, the federales can knock on to shut it down. It's kept up by nodes all across the internet. It is completely decentralized. Now, this is not a Bitcoin commercial. Forget all that. What I want to talk about now is how this is being implemented. These banking authorities are trying to implement this system, and there was a glimmer of happy news that came out of Africa. And it was an article published just yesterday how Nigeria has said, you know what? We're not playing this game. We're not doing this thing. I know you want us to, but we refuse to participate. And see, that's something that gives me hope, because that's something that can happen here. I don't want something controlled. We don't want a central bank. Do you know how many of our founders, our past presidents, our past statesmen, we don't have statesmen anymore. We have people who get elected and wear hoodies and shorts to press conferences. We used to elect statesmen. Do you know how many people in our past, real statesmen, who fought hard against a central bank system in this country? Why? Because they know that it would enslave people. That was the end goal of a central bank, to enslave people. Let's take a look at this article over at Zero Hedge. It's an amazing article. Let's read it. Africa's first test run for a CBDC has failed. It says the transition to a CBDC in Nigeria did not go as planned. The elites always seek out African nations to use as their test subjects. Full stop. Do you know why they use Africa for their test subjects? Because number one, their governments are weak. They can be the politicians who are in power there are usually warlords that they can pay off. And hey, let's go in there and give all your people these shots. It'll make them better. We'll test out. Because the reality is, if everything goes wrong, a lot of the media from there doesn't get out to the mainstream. Nobody cares about what happens in Africa. I mean, that's the place where all these, Nigerian billionaires come and, email you and want you to, inherit all their money in those email scams. Nobody cares. And so if the CBDC, if the central banks want to test something over there. If it goes completely haywire, we're not going to hear a lot about it in our mainstream media. Let's continue. It says Nigeria attempted to slowly roll out the program dubbed e-Naira, built on the Hyperledger Fabric blockchain. The Central Bank of Nigeria, the CBN, is solely responsible for running the nodes of this digital currency. Beginning stress tests stated this currency could execute 2,000 transactions per section, or per, I think it's supposed to say per second, but either way, it's really good. In October it's really fast. In October 2021, the government began offering incentives to citizens who chose to CBN. A year later, the country was still hesitant to make the switch, so the central bank began implementing forceful measures. See, they try the carrot first. Hey, this is going to be great for you. It's going to give you all these abilities. You're going to love this so much more. And then when that doesn't work, forceful measures. In October 2022, the CBN decided to cancel and resign the currency in a move aimed at restoring the control of the Central Bank of Nigeria over currency in circulation. So what they do now, they start taking your money away. Oh, you will use this or you don't get to use anything. They stated that the original paper notes would only be legal tender until January 31st of 2023, leaving the people with no alternative but to convert their cash. Nigerians were no stranger to the concept of currency cancellation, as it is something the government has routinely done. Now, so this is a country now who is used to the currency failing. And they would not go along with this. That gives me great hope. Because this country, the people in this country are used to currencies being stable. We're used to what we're used to. And so them trying to come in and say, hey, we're going to do this new system. You don't have to worry about cash anymore. This will be great for you. It's got all kinds of great benefits. You're going to love it. And the fact that these people who are used to their currency failing refused it, and now we have a people who are used to something, it's going to be a much harder sell for us. That is greatly encouraging to me, because I think this is going to be a hard sell for most Americans. And this is why you have a number of states who have already passed bills saying, no CBDC here. No, you will never restrict gold and silver for legal tender, and you will never restrict cash for legal tender. It's already happening. The refusal is already happening, and the central banks are taking notice. The CBN openly announced that the end goal was to target a 100% cashless society replaced with the e-Naira, that's the digital currency. Fewer than 0.5% of Nigerians adopted the e-Naira, and protest erupted across the nation. So again, this is all greatly encouraging. And here's the deal. This is coming. They are going to try a rollout at some point. They want control over you. They want to be able to see where your money is. They want to be able to see what you're buying. They want to be able to restrict you in certain ways to allow you to buy and sell based on certain parameters, certain social credit scores. They have said this openly. You know, these things at Davos and these WEF meetings and all this stuff. They have talked about this openly. They want to be able to restrict you because the greater control allows them to stay in power and to implement some of their programs and systems. They think the world's overpopulated. They think all these weird and crazy things. I can't get into some of this stuff because it'll get into, danger zone of YouTube land. But they're thinking about these things. And the way to do that is to restrict your buying power, restrict your purse, and to force you into certain ways to comply with the ways they want you to comply. Let me make some predictions, and I've said this before in my videos. It's been about a year since I talked about this. At some point very soon here, they're going to be banning Bitcoin. This is in the cards. See, Bitcoin exists outside of their system. It is a competitor, and they do not like competitors. We'll get to that in a second, of past attempts to get rid of competitors. They have their fiat dollar system, and they don't want anything to compete with that because they want that to be in total control. Okay? Think of this as like a highway, okay? Bitcoin is the highway, and you have these on-ramps to the highway and off-ramps to the highway. The on-ramps and off-ramps of this highway lead to fiat dollars. So right now, if you want to buy Bitcoin, you have to go through some channel to purchase the Bitcoin. That's the on-ramp, and then now you have your Bitcoin. And when you want to convert it back to cash, you have to go off the off-ramp of the highway and convert it back to cash. How I have normally done this in the past is a company called BitPay. And I've been using this for years, okay? I am completely and totally out of the crypto game now, completely and totally out. Okay, I first bought Bitcoin back in 2011. Okay, so I've been in this for a while, on and off. And 2017, I really ramped up. If you've been with my channel for a long time, you know we were involved with Steemit, and Steemit actually paid a lot of crypto at the time. That was the heyday, and that's when the elites really started to take notice of crypto and Bitcoin and trying to shut it down, because it was a monetary system that they did not have their fingers into, that they could control. Okay, I just got a letter the other day from BitPay. Actually, it was an email, and I got a letter too that says they are going to shut you down. They're going to shut me down. They're going to write me a check. It's over. Take whatever money you have out, whatever money is left in there after next month is going to be, they'll write me a check and send that to me, and send me a check. They're shutting down the on-ramps and off-ramps to the Bitcoin system, to Bitcoin. And that's how they're going to make it illegal. They'll just take the on-ramps and off-ramps. See, they can't get rid of Bitcoin. There's no office they can knock on the door of and shut you guys down and arrest everybody. It's completely decentralized over the world. So the only thing they can do is to make it illegal to use the on-ramps and off-ramps to that system, and then demonize it and call it, oh, you're money laundering and you're funding terrorists and all this other stuff. I said before, they're going to ban it. And they're starting to do that right now with the oncoming of these CBDCs. Now, let me show you an older example of this. This is nothing new. Banning Bitcoin, nothing new. This is a silver quarter from 1946. 1946, silver quarter. This is actually worth about $7. Okay. This is a quarter from 1935. Okay. Now, in 1964, they basically stopped using silver in their currency. There was no more use of silver in their currency. In 1946, this would buy 1 gallon of gasoline for your car. 1 gallon of gasoline this would buy. In 1935, the same quarter would buy 2 gallons worth of gasoline. 2 gallons worth of gasoline. Go look it up. Go look it up. 1 gallon of gasoline, 2 gallons of gasoline. Do you want to know why it bought less in 1946? Because they were demonetizing the silver through the COMEX and other exchanges and other markets in order to devalue it, because it was a direct competitor to their fiat system. See, that's what they do. They try to demonetize. They try to regulate. They try to manipulate the market value of these competitors of their dollar system. Now, silver content, they're still worth the same, about $7. I think the silver content's actually worth about $4.50, but the premium, because these things are so rare nowadays, is around. You're not gonna buy one of these at a coin shop for like $7, unless you pay like $7, around $7. But I'm just trying to show you how they have continually over the years manipulated the prices of these things, because it is a competitor. When Muammar Gaddafi said he wanted to launch an African gold dinar, that was it. We're taking you out. You're done here, Gaddafi. And year later, whatever, you're dead. Because you're trying to launch a competitor that would be a direct competitor that actually has backing of something that's real, that would compete against the US dollar, and we cannot have competitors. Now, Russia and China are doing this exact same thing, but see, they're too big. You can't just, missile strike those guys. They're too big. So what are you going to do? You're going to prepare. You're going to try to lock down your citizenry as fast and as hard as possible. Thus the reason for FedNow, thus the reason for the coming CBDC, and they're going to hope it sticks. My encouragement to you is understand what's happening here. Understand the bigger game. Position yourself with things that really matter, because at some point you may not be able to buy the things you want to buy anymore. You may not. I'm going through some things on my Patreon page right now that I guarantee you, when the CBDC gets launched, at some point these things will be shut down. You will not have access to these things anymore, because it's about control. So position yourself now to buy the things you need now, that you know that the government does not like, because it allows you to exist outside of their control. Physical gold and silver is one of those things. Lots of trade and barter items. The ability to make different trade and barter items is paramount and essential. Crazy, crazy times that we're living in today. But this is what's happening. I'm telling you right now. I was not wrong years ago when I said they're going to ban Bitcoin. A year ago, I said it's a done deal. They're going to do it. They're going to ban Bitcoin. Just watch. And I've already gotten the letter. We're cutting you off. See, they're going to do the same thing with all kinds of stuff. They want the control over you. They want to where you have to use the system, and you own nothing, and you'll like it. That's exactly what they're saying. The good news is that people are standing up and saying no. And if we do that, like they did in Nigeria, in great enough numbers, perhaps we can get ahead of this thing. Perhaps. I think you and I both know the end game here anyway. We've read the book, okay? We've read the last book of the book in the book. The last book of the book, we've read it. So, however, positioning yourself now will help, I think, us transition into that time frame and give us a better safeguard for our families. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment below. This is a really interesting topic. It can get heated, and people have all kinds of opinions. No matter what your opinions are, I'm open to hearing them, and I hope others are as well. The opinions that you leave down below may help someone else think in a way that they can help prepare their families for what we all know is coming. So leave that comment. I really appreciate it. All right, guys. I don't put ads in the middle of my videos because when I'm on a diatribe like this, the last thing you want is something interrupting you that you have to wait 15 seconds before you can even skip it or have to watch the whole thing. Because Genesis Gold Group is my sponsor. Check them out. Right there. If you have a 401k, IRA, watch this ad and act accordingly. Prepare. Safeguard. All right, we'll leave it at that. See you next time on the Homestead. Bye! It's 2023, and the banks are continuing to struggle and fail. The bottom line on why our country is in so much financial trouble is that we have for years not lived within our means. Government spending in Congress is out of control, and government printing of US dollars has reached no limits. For only the second time in history, we have more debt than our GDP. That means we owe more money than our country is actually worth. See, it used to be said that the US dollar was backed by the gross domestic product. But when the debt exceeds that amount, it's no wonder why so many countries are now refusing to trade in that ever-increasingly worthless currency. That's why you need to safeguard your wealth. You've worked and saved your entire life, and now it's all at risk. Genesis Gold Group is a faith-based business that will help you move your assets into physical gold and silver. Precious metals have stood the test of time during economic failures all throughout history. Call Genesis Gold Group today and let them develop a strategy for your savings, 401k, or self-directed IRA. A strategy of physical gold and silver. You can call the number on the screen or visit them at genesisgoldgroup.com and be sure to say you heard about them from an American Homestead. Hey guys, did you know you can become a patron of an American Homestead? They get access to private videos, and we send them gifts from the Homestead that we make here on the Homestead. And we also enter our patrons into special giveaways that are only available to them. And before you go, please check out these other great videos. Go ahead, click. I'll wait.